What is up, everybody? It is Life's Apprentice. Today I'm going to be doing a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I was going to wait until I had done some videos, got some subscribers, and thought about it. And this video is going to be basically kind of my life story and how I became a successful entrepreneur. So it all started back in October of 1986. I was born on the west side of Chicago in Elgin, Illinois. I lived there and a couple other little areas very nearby until about 1992. And in 1992, my family moved to Maryland. Now, I'm the oldest of four kids. In 1992, not all of my siblings had been born yet, but we moved to an area near Baltimore, Maryland. And I guess in Baltimore, Maryland is where my entrepreneur spirit really was starting to be noticed by myself, by my family. It really started with a paper route. Back when newspapers were a thing, I had a bike with baskets and a bag, and I got paid. I don't even remember how much I got paid, but I had a paper route that I did in my neighborhood, and that was essentially my first job. I was probably maybe 9-10 years old at this point when that started, and that was good. I had to the papers would get dropped off at my house in the morning in a bundle, and we had to bag the papers or put a rubber band on them. We would bag them if it was going to rain, and then we would go around and throw them at people's houses. And I was required to collect from the people on my paper route, and so I had to deal with the money. I had to pay for the newspapers. I had to provide a good service, and this really is what taught me hard work and dedication, and just a daily routine of hard work, where essentially I was held by a contract that these papers had to be delivered, and it was 2 days a week that I did the papers, like Wednesday and Saturday. So the Sunday paper would come out Sunday morning. I would do it overnight, and during that time I was learning how to cut the grass. My parents were teaching me how to cut grass, and I started walking around the neighborhood to local people with a mower, and they would give me $5 for each lawn. Well, that turned into maybe 10-15 lawns, and I was making 150-200 bucks a week in the mid 90s just cutting grass. So I was able to afford the coolest bike and skateboard and all that kind of stuff at a very young age, and it really taught me the value of money, the value of hard work, and working for the things that I wanted, which was a bike or toys or stuff like that back then. So I continued doing that. I would rake some leaves and do whatever I could, do chores for my parents and make money that way. And at that point I was basically full-blown entrepreneur, and it really never left me. So after we moved from Baltimore, Maryland in about 1997 or 8 to West Bend, Wisconsin. At that point I was also cutting some grass. I really got into fishing a lot at that point, and there was a bait shop pretty close to my house that I would ride my bike to, and me and my buddies would get bait. And the owner, I talked him into giving me a job. And at first I was just dipping minnows and counting worms and stocking the shelves and stuff like that. By the time I was probably 13, I literally had a key to the store, and I would close the store multiple nights. So I was learning the cash register and dealing with the customers, locking the doors, making sure everything was good. That was a really awesome opportunity. Jim His name was at the Bait Box in West Bend, Wisconsin, and he's dead now, but he gave me an opportunity that I'll never forget, and it again, I learned even more from that. Now, this isn't necessarily, I was not working for myself, I was working for him. He was paying me $2.50 an hour, and he would give me free bait, and I could buy fishing lures at cost and stuff like that, but $2.50 an hour. And so I worked there for a few years, and then I got, more towards high school, and I wasn't able to necessarily do that job anymore. And at that time, we moved back to Illinois. I moved a lot as a kid. So we moved back to an area where I was born. The other thing about Jim, and if you know me as a person, Jim, the guy from West Bend, he was the first person to ever take me hunting, duck hunting at least, and that really just ignited a passion for hunting that still lives with me to this day. He took me duck hunting. That is by far my passion when it comes to hunting, and I am forever grateful to him. And I still hunt. The first place he ever took me was Teresa Marsh in Wisconsin, and where I live now, I still hunt Teresa Marsh every single year in the same spots he took me back then. But I'm getting a little bit off track. So after that, in about 2000, I moved back to Illinois, and that was my first year in high school. I was a freshman in high school, and I just had that passion for the outdoors and stuff like that. So I was out fishing and hunting all the time, and I talked a couple of guys who owned a boat dealership and a bait shop, tackle hunting shop. I talked them into giving me a job, and that was Waterworks in, I can't even remember the town, but it was in Chicago, and I lived very close by. My mom would give me a ride there to work. I started, again, stocking shelves, dipping minnows, stuff like that. I worked there for probably 3 or 4 years until I had my driver's license. And I got my driver's license in about 2002. And again, by that time, I had shown what I was worth. They were paying me maybe $7 an hour. I was literally talking about boats with customers, selling boats, selling fishing rods, teaching people. I was a good fisherman in the local area, so people actually believed me for whatever reason, my advice, and I was selling, basically a salesman there. So that pretty much ended in about 2004. In 2004, I moved to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is where I live now. Once I moved to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, I did have a job after about a year working at a burger joint. I was a fry cook and like a prep cook there. And I didn't make a whole lot of money. I really did not like it, and it is the only job I've ever been fired from. And it was for lack of attendance. I was legitimately fired, and I deserved it. After that, I worked at Walmart until I was about 18. I started pushing carts at Walmart for like $7 an hour, and I worked my way up to, not a manager, but I worked my way up into one of the head guys, part-time guys in the lawn and garden department. Now I really liked that, but it wasn't for me. At that point, I had graduated high school. I was thinking about college. I went to college, dropped out. I couldn't do it. I was never very good in school. It really didn't motivate me. And also, I was, a young man who thought he knew everything, which is not true. But at the time, that is what I thought. So I dropped out of college, and I had done a little bit of construction work. I was looking for a good job, and somehow I came across a job in the construction field at Musa Sheet Metal in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I worked there as a pre-apprentice, started at like $9 an hour. I immediately got my apprenticeship. It was a 5-year, 10,000 working hour and 2,000 hour apprenticeship. So 2,000 hours of school and 10,000 working hours. I worked for Musa for 5 years. I went through my entire apprenticeship successfully. By the time I was done with my apprenticeship, I got my journeyman card. I had full benefits, 401k, annuity, and I would have been making about $55,000 a year. Now, in the meantime, I had bought a house, my old house that I lived in, for like $55,000, a small 2-bedroom ranch. And at the same time, I had some extra money saved up and was doing a lot of side jobs, roofing and siding and stuff like that. And I bought my first rental property for $10,000. This is before I quit, right before I quit Musa. So I started working on that nights and weekends. I hired some people to kind of help me with that, plumbers, electrician, framer, stuff like that. And I just was not feeling appreciated at my old job. I felt that I could do better for myself. I was already doing jobs on the weekends, sometimes making more on the weekend than I would a whole week at work. So I said, you know what? As soon as I get my journeyman card, I can always fall back on this because it's a union job. I can always go to another company. I can always fall back on this. I'm going to take the leap. And that's when I started my roofing company. Now, I thought that I was just awesome, and we were doing jobs every single weekend, but once I quit and went full-time, it was a lot easier to do those jobs, so I didn't have enough jobs to sustain myself. So we started hustling. I started doing some street scrapping and stuff like that. Scrap prices were very high. Me and my best buddy kind of started the business together, and so we started doing street scrapping. We were handing out flyers. We would do just about anything to make a buck. And 13 years later, here I am. The first few years was definitely a big time struggle with my construction business, but we got it going to the point where I had multiple employees. I could afford to pay myself. My heat and water and electricity wasn't getting shut off every month because I was late on bills or worried about paying that and then not being able to buy the next roof. And 13 years later, now I have that successful company that I still work for basically 40 hours a week. Now, in the meantime, in about 2012, I met my wife, Chelsea, and I was into buying rentals because I was doing a lot of work for these people who were buying these rental properties cheap, fixing them up, flipping them. And, you know, I'm like, if these idiots can do that, and I'm doing all the work, why am I not doing that? So I started with one and then two, and from 2010 to about 2015, we flipped or remodeled, bought about 25 rentals total. Now, since then, I have sold some. I think we have about 15 still to this day, and they're almost completely paid off. So that was a really, really good decision. It was just really good timing. We got spoiled just buying cheap houses and being able to fix them up ourselves. Having good credit and a good relationship with the bank made that a lot easier for me. And that is a decision that I wish I would have bought so many more. But I didn't, and I'm happy with what I did. I'm glad that I didn't sell them all because those properties are worth 3, 4, 5 times what I paid for them. And so now we're getting into the story of Greenhead, which is why most of you guys watch my channel. Greenhead came about probably in 2000, I would say probably about 2012, 2013. I started using the old owner who owned Greenhead. I started using his dumpsters for our rental properties. I started using them for my roofing jobs. I didn't have a dump trailer. I was driving a Ford Ranger, a 2001 Ford Ranger, so I couldn't haul anything as far as shingles and construction debris, but I made it work. So I was using dumpsters, and I was doing about $15,000 worth of dumpsters per year with Greenhead. And I had worked with the old owner for quite a few years, and 2 or 3 years into using his dumpsters, he jokingly said to me, "Hey Justin, would you ever consider buying this business?" And I'd never really thought about it, but I said, absolutely, I would love to. I think it would be a great addition to what we're already doing. Now, this is probably 2015 when he first mentioned that. And it was about 7 years. He kept saying it, but he wasn't serious. And I kept saying, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And finally, in 2020, basically pre-COVID, it was probably 2019, fall of 2019, he said, Justin, I'm ready. I want to sell this business. I said, so what do you want me to do? I don't know how to do this. Every business I have started, I started from scratch. I've never bought a business like that. So first thing I did, went and talked to the bank, talked to the lawyer, and then COVID hit. We were ready to close, and I think COVID really pretty much hit the U.S. like March 20th. I think we closed on Greenhead like March 24th of 2020. It was a really scary time because I didn't know what was going to happen. The world was shutting down. Bad things were really starting to happen. And I just bought a business that I really don't know a whole lot about. I know how to run businesses, but I've never ran a dumpster business. So that's when we took over Greenhead. It was sometime late March, early April 2020. Like the worst time you could possibly do it. So we took it over, really no experience, me and Chelsea, and it just started booming right away. We already had a presence in the market, but I realized immediately that this business had a lot of potential, and we needed to grow it. So we started buying one dumpster at a time, and if you've watched my dumpster videos for any amount of time, you know that we've just surpassed that. You see the truck behind me. Having Laura and Tim on our team, not only them, but Chelsea, my wife, and myself, all of us working together for the greater goal of Greenhead. And now you can watch my videos from March 2020 up until today. We've pretty much documented almost everything that we've done. But that's kind of my life story, how I got into the dumpster business. I never watched dumpster people on YouTube until I started making YouTube videos. I didn't really know that there was any information out there. There really wasn't. Martin was basically the only one doing dumpster videos on the internet, and I'd never even heard of him until I started making my own YouTube videos. And once I started making the YouTube videos, I realized there's a lot of people interested in this, which is really, really interesting to me and very cool. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys for watching. That's how I got started as an entrepreneur. Anyone can do it, but that's like 25 years of hard work and dedication. I'm 34. I will be 35 this year, but 2/3 of my life I've essentially been hustling and been an entrepreneur that entire time. And it's just kind of funny to talk about and think about and look back on. And anyone can do this. Hard work, dedication, and blood, sweat, tears, all that kind of cliche stuff that they say is exactly what I've been through. So hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you on the next one.